after my first child was born, I decided to concentrate on things dear to my heart, and I gave up what I call the grueling glamour of the New York media and fashion world and decided to concentrate on books. So I published my first book in 1989. It was called Best Friends, and it was an album of famous and not so famous people with their dogs. I mean, this lady is Lisa Fossan-Grives Penn, who was Irving Penn's wife. She was a top model in the 50s, and if you look at all the Irving Penn, his most famous photographs of Irving Penn, she is featured in it. She was, and even when she was 70, when I took this picture, she was the most beautiful woman I've ever met. Just beautiful. This is Isaac Mizrahi. He's a fashion designer in New York. And that's his dog, Harry, who is just adorable. And this is Jeffrey Bean. He was a designer who is now dead. And those were his two adorable dachshunds. And this is Diane von Furstenberg with her very funny dog. Yeah. Okay. This is an Italian designer called Elsa Peretti, and she designs a lot of things for Tiffany's. And this picture was taken in Italy. And this is was an actress called Deandra Douglas, and was married to Michael Douglas. And at the time, this is obviously Glenn Close, who is very dear to my heart. And I was quite lucky to take this picture of her because I took it right before she became really, really, really famous with Fatal Attraction. I just adore this picture of her feet up. This is a friend of mine who just who's an art director, and he kept saying to me, well, I do this thing with my dog every day, and I would really like to do that if you can take a picture of us. So he really did that. He really went to this pizza place on Lexington Avenue, and the pizza guy always gave the dog some cheese, and this is what happened, and it's really funny. This is my cousin. This is my cousin Brandino on the Grand Canal in Venice with his dog, and this is my aunt Cristiana with her dog, and what else do I have? Oh, and this is another friend of mine who had an antique store with his dog. I don't know what kind of dog that is, but it's really cute. And this is he's a very famous Italian writer called Alberto Moravia, who has since died, and his dog is called a Spinone. And she's an English artist who lives in London, and she was painting her dog, and she's really talented, and I love this picture. And this is my uncle with his dog, a Siberian Husky, whose name was Dyed Eyes. And this is actually one of my favorite pictures of the book because it's called Anonymous on the QE2. It was taken in 1975, and it was just a guy walking his dog on the Queen Elizabeth where we were crossing the Atlantic, and there was a special deck where people were allowed to walk their dogs, and I just happened to go up there, and I just took this picture, and I like that I have no idea who this person is. And this is he's a fancy aristocrat. His name is David Beaufort. He's a duke. I can't quite remember his title, but he's very good looking, and that's his castle, literally. And he's an Italian friend of mine, and I like this picture a lot. Taken in Soho in the 80s when there was still lots of graffiti. I don't know how many of you have come to New York and have been to Soho, but in the old days Soho looked like that and had all these graffitis, and now it's all cleaned up and fancy and lots of beautiful, expensive stores. In 2004, we got our second dog. So that's when I decided to do a dog book about our two dogs together, which would be like an odd couple kind of book, you know. And it was supposed to be mostly a funny book. You know, my idea was, okay, this book is just going to be hilarious. But in the end, events conspired against me, including the loss of my mother and the loss of Luna. So the book ended up being a lot less funny and a lot more what I call poignant and metaphorical. So we picked up Luna in June of 1997. I had never trained a dog before, and I wasn't sure where to begin. I was overwhelmed, not to mention the fact that I had 3 small children to raise. Eventually, I started to get the hang of it. Luna quickly became the best playmate the children ever had. They would dress her up for Easter, Halloween, and Christmas. Luna was the quintessential water dog. Everyone threw her tennis balls on the lawn, in the pond, and in the ocean. We often took long walks along Georgica Beach, and when we got to Georgica Pond, she would always dive in to cool off. When Luna became tired, she would sit and smell the sea air while holding her nose up high into the breeze, as regal as any queen. That's her. At the end of the summer of 2002, my daughters became very vocal about wanting a second dog. The new refrain became, we want a little dog we can hold, who can sit on our laps and sleep on our beds. I was dead set against this. I don't like small dogs, I said. Small dogs bark because they have an inferiority complex. On the other hand, Luna had just turned 7 and was showing signs of slowing down. I thought a companion might energize her. After much debate, we decided to get a black miniature dachshund. And I thought, what am I getting myself into? After many discussions, we named her Lola. It worked well with Luna. I never really thought of Lola as a dog. She was more like a bird, a cross between a penguin and a duck. Her pitter-patter was immediately endearing, and her intelligence quite obvious. As for her incessant yapping, I learned to tune it out, and it stopped bothering me. She looks like a model there. Needless to say, Luna was not happy when Lola arrived. She would run away anytime Lola would try to play with her. It was hate at first sight. I wish I could have explained to Luna that one day they would become friends and keep each other company. After a while, Luna accepted Lola. And I breathed a sigh of relief. They started playing together, and watching them tussle made me laugh out loud. I dubbed it the Luna and Lola show. I decided it had to become Luna and Lola, the book. For their physical and temperamental differences, they became a team, poignantly devoted and fiercely protective. By 2008, Luna was starting to slow down and seemed tired all the time. Her eyes were getting cloudy with cataracts. She was having trouble going up and down stairs. And we couldn't throw her tennis balls anymore without her limping for days. Dr. Miller, her veterinarian, confirmed that she had arthritis. And I sympathized because my joints were starting to hurt as well. And there's also a postscript in the book, because I needed to end it on an upbeat note. And as this book goes to press, I'm smiling at the thought of new life, more tennis balls, and another decade of walks along the beach. How Lola will feel, however, is a different story.